Today we're diving into something pretty fascinating. It's called agrivoltaics.
Agrivoltaics, yes.
And it might sound a little technical,
Yeah.
but stick with us because basically we're talking about combining solar energy with agriculture.
Yes.
Like literally growing food and generating power on the same piece of land.
Yeah. And what's really exciting is it's not just like some far-off idea. It's actually happening right now.
Wow.
We found this article, and we're going to be talking about it today. It's from GS Publisher.
Okay.
It's called Agrivoltaics, the integration of solar energy in agriculture. And it really lays out like how this scenario can work to tackle both food security and our renewable energy needs at the same time.
I mean, you have me at win-win.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love efficiency?
Exactly.
But I think we need to like break it down a little for people like me.
Sure.
How do you actually set up an agrivoltaic system?
Right.
Like, am I picturing rows of solar panels casting these long shadows over wilting lettuce?
Not quite, no. It's actually a lot more nuanced than that.
Okay.
So you have to imagine solar panels, but they're strategically placed above crops,
Okay.
providing just the right amount of shade.
Oh.
It's really all about creating a microclimate that benefits both the plants
Nitrous.
and the energy generation.
Wow.
And the setup, it can vary a lot, like wildly depending on what kind of crops you have, the climate, even the type of solar panel that's used.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach?
No, not at all. You have
Yeah.
to tailor it to the situation.
Gotcha.
Exactly. And the article actually highlights how the type of agrivoltaic system that you would use can be adapted for different types of crops in different regions.
Okay.
So for instance, some systems, they might involve raising the panels higher to accommodate like larger crops
Okay.
or machinery to move through.
That makes sense.
And then other systems, they might use carefully spaced panels to kind of fine-tune how much shade the plants are getting.
So it's all about kind of finding that sweet spot between the crop growth.
Yes.
Exactly.
That energy production.
Finding that perfect balance.
Well, what are the benefits beyond just like saving space?
Right.
I mean, I'm assuming there's got to be more to this than just efficiency.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much more to it.
Okay.
Let's start with the environmental benefits.
Okay.
So the shade that these panels provide can actually reduce how much water evaporates from the soil,
Okay.
which means that farmers need to irrigate less.
Oh, wow.
And this can be a huge advantage, especially in regions that are facing water scarcity.
Makes total sense. Less water evaporating means more water for the crops.
Exactly.
But does it affect the crop yield itself?
Yeah.
I mean, plants need sunlight.
They do need sunlight, but here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Sometimes that shade can actually be beneficial.
Really?
Certain crops are super sensitive to intense sunlight,
Okay.
and the panels can actually create this more favorable microclimate
Wow.
that can actually lead to increased yields.
No way.
Yeah, the article specifically mentions this case study from Italy. Now you're talking Italy.
Yes.
Basil.
Yes.
Those two things just go together.
Exactly. They go together like pasta and sauce.
Perfect.
But in this case, they not only maintained the basil yield,
Okay.
they actually increased it compared to traditional farming methods.
So they got more basil
Or basil.
because of the solar panels.
Because of the solar panels.
I mean, that's impressive.
It is.
But how is that even possible?
So it comes down to finding the right balance again.
Okay.
The panels provided just enough shade to protect the basil from that really intense Italian sun.
Oh.
And it created this microclimate that was like perfect for the basil to just flourish.
So it's not even just about like coexisting.
Right.
It's like this synergy
Yeah.
where they both benefit from each other.
Exactly. And this ties into the economic benefits for farmers.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk money. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk money.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, farming is a business.
Right.
It has to be profitable.
Yeah.
How does agrivoltaics affect a farmer's bottom line?
Well, it basically adds like a whole new revenue stream.
Oh.
So by generating and selling solar energy,
Okay.
farmers can diversify their income and make their operations more financially stable.
I see.
It's almost like having a backup crop,
Oh, okay.
but instead of just relying on the weather,
Yeah.
you're tapping into the power of the sun.
So it's like sunshine insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic for a second.
Okay.
What are some of the challenges
Yeah.
that are kind of holding agrivoltaics back
Yeah.
from becoming more mainstream?
Well, one of the biggest ones is the upfront investment
Okay.
for installing the solar panels and actually integrating them into existing farming operations.
Oh,
That can be pretty significant.
okay.
And for a lot of farmers, especially like smaller ones,
Mm-hmm.
that initial cost can be a big hurdle.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a big commitment.
Yeah,
Not everyone has the resources to jump in head first.
exactly.
What else?
Another challenge is finding the right crop and panel combination.
Okay.
It's crucial
Yeah.
because not all crops are going to thrive under shade.
Right.
And the height and spacing of the panels, it all has to be carefully considered.
Makes sense.
It's really about optimizing the energy production and the crop yield.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research
Oh, yeah.
and experimentation involved in getting it right.
So it's not as simple as just like sticking some panels in the ground and calling it a day.
No,
There's a lot of fine-tuning
there is a lot of fine-tuning.
and learning as you go.
Absolutely.
Any other challenges?
Yeah, so land use policies and permitting processes,
Okay.
those can also be barriers.
Really?
A lot of regulatory frameworks, they haven't really caught up yet
Huh.
with this new approach.
Interesting.
And that can create roadblocks for farmers who want to adopt agrivoltaics.
So it sounds like we need like a more supportive policy environment
Yeah, we do.
to really unlock the full potential
That's
of this idea.
We need policymakers and researchers and farmers all working together
Yeah.
to make it happen.
To create a system that makes it a viable option for people.
Exactly.
But before we dive into that,
Okay.
I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier
Sure.
about the social and economic impact on rural communities.
Right. Yeah, that's a really crucial piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Agrivoltaics, it has this potential to create new jobs and revitalize rural economies.
Oh, wow.
Think about all the jobs related to installing and maintaining those panels,
Yeah.
or even like the need for specialists who can go and advise farmers
Yeah.
on the best practices.
So it's not just about the green energy and food production.
No, it's not.
It's about creating opportunities
Yes.
in these areas that often get overlooked.
And fostering economic growth.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us back to the big picture here.
Okay.
What does this all mean for the average person
Yeah.
who might not be a farmer
Right.
or an energy expert?
Right.
Why should we care about agrivoltaics?
Right. That's a great question. I think it's because it's like a glimpse into a more sustainable future for everyone,
Okay.
where we can tackle these multiple challenges at once.
Mhm.
We're talking about more resilient food systems, cleaner energy generation, and economic opportunities for rural communities.
Yeah.
It's about creating a more sustainable world
Mhm.
where we can address food security and climate change and economic inequality all at the same time.
So it's about moving beyond just talking about these problems.
Right.
And actually finding solutions
Yeah,
that can make a difference.
exactly.
I want to push this a little further, though.
Okay.
Let's imagine for a moment that agrivoltaics could be scaled up.
Yeah.
Significantly, exponentially even.
Okay.
What kind of broader impact could that have?
Right.
What would our food systems look like?
That's a fascinating question.
How would our energy grids change?
If we really let our imaginations run wild here
Yeah.
and picture agrivoltaics becoming like widespread.
I mean, just imagine like looking out over the countryside
Yeah.
and you see fields that are covered not just with crops,
Right.
but with solar panels too.
Exactly.
It'd be like a patchwork quilt
Mhm.
of green and blue, you
Yeah.
know, harnessing the power of the sun to grow our food and fuel our lives.
I love that vision.
Yeah.
Instead of these like vast open fields, we could have a landscape that's optimized for food and energy production at the same time.
Yeah, and that wouldn't just change how our food is grown, right?
Right.
It would transform how it gets to our tables.
Exactly.
Oh, you mean like we wouldn't have to rely so much
Yeah.
on those big trucks hauling produce across the country?
Exactly. Think about that.
Oh, that'd be a huge win for the environment.
Huge reduction in transportation costs and emissions.
Yeah.
Your food wouldn't have to travel halfway across the world to get to your plate.
And with those solar-powered greenhouses extending growing seasons too,
Yeah.
we could have fresh, local produce all year round,
I know.
even in places with like really harsh climates.
That's right.
Okay, now that's a vision I can get behind.
Yeah.
Locally grown strawberries in December.
I know. It's pretty amazing.
But it's not just about the food.
Right.
We were talking about energy grids too.
Yeah.
How would widespread agrivoltaics impact that system?
So it could lead to a much more decentralized
Okay.
and resilient energy system.
Okay.
Instead of relying on these large centralized power plants,
Yeah.
communities could generate their own clean energy right there on the farms,
Wow.
which would reduce our dependence on fossil fuels
Mm-hmm.
and create a much more stable and sustainable energy supply.
So it's not just about switching to renewable energy.
Right.
It's like a whole different way of thinking about how we produce and distribute it.
It's a complete rethinking of the system.
Yeah. And what about the people?
Yeah.
who live and work in these rural communities.
Right.
How could this impact their livelihoods?
Well, it could be transformative.
Okay.
Imagine revitalized rural economies with new jobs and opportunities in everything from, installing and maintaining the panels to like new specialized farming techniques. Young people might choose to stay in their communities
Yeah.
and contribute to that growth and vitality.
Wow. So it's like this ripple effect,
Yeah.
spreading these positive impacts
Yeah.
across the whole system.
Across everything.
We're talking about a future where our food is more local, our energy is cleaner, and our rural communities are thriving.
That's the vision.
I have to say, it's making me feel pretty optimistic
Me too.
about the future.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And that's why it's so important to explore the full potential of this.
Yeah.
It's not just a technological solution. It's a vision for a more sustainable and equitable future for everyone.
Well, you've definitely given us a lot to think about today.
Yeah.
We've gone deep into the world of agrivoltaics, exploring its potential to transform our food systems, energy grids, and rural communities.
And while there are definitely challenges to overcome, like we talked about, the possibilities are really inspiring.
They are.
It's a reminder that innovation and collaboration can lead to some pretty incredible solutions.
So as you go about your day, consider this.
Okay.
What if the fields that nourish us could also power our homes and breathe new life into our rural communities?
That's a great thought.
The future of agrivoltaics, it's brimming with potential.
It is.
And it's a future we can all help shape.
Absolutely.
Until next time,
Yes.
keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep with us.